Welcome back. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing good. Where I'm at, it is the most bipolar effing weather I've ever experienced in my life. And people don't think there's a weather machine. Anyways, I digress. So today I wanted to talk about how to outsmart a narcissist. Okay? I've been telling stories and doing all these good things, but I also want this platform to be like an educational piece. So I'm gonna start throwing in like different ways, tips, tricks, things that you can do to kind of outmaneuver your situation, so to speak, and or take back your power. Because that's really important. I think it's really important that when you're dealing with a narcissist, you take back your power. The power you give them is what they use to treat you like shit. Okay, so I wrote these down, so bear with me. Okay, so the number one thing you can do to outsmart a narcissist is to set boundaries, okay? Now, I know you may be thinking, especially if you're deep in this situation, how do you set boundaries with someone that thrives off of control? Well, you got to understand that they thrive off of drama. So when you pay special attention to their behaviors and kind of the things that they do to create problems for you, those are the things that you're going to set boundaries against. So for example, the narcissist that you're dealing with is doing things on purpose to ignore you. Whenever there's a situation where you find yourself in and they're doing that, make sure that you're setting boundaries in such a way where you're saying, okay, I see what you're doing. You're going out of your way to ignore me. I'm going to stop giving you the attention to ignore me then. I'm going to take that away from you in this particular instance so that when you try to do that to me the next time, there's nothing available for you to do. Okay? So I know it may sound a little bit convoluted, but it's because everybody's situation is individual. And you kind of have to figure out for yourself where to set those boundaries. Okay. The next thing is kind of piggybacking off of that, focusing on you. It's really hard to focus on yourself when someone is demanding so much of your attention, but focusing on you is what is going to make them recognize that what they're doing no longer works for you. So you get into the relationship with them. Obviously, there's parts of you that you've forgotten because you're caught up in this situation with the person. Get back to those parts. You like to exercise? Exercise. You like to read? Read. You are a person who likes walks in nature? Start taking walks in nature. Like, do things that will bring you back to you. Okay. Number 3, ignore outbursts. You gotta ignore their outbursts. Remember last video I said to you at this point, like in the relationship in 2018, I was getting to the point where I was checking out. That is what was making him go from 0 to 10. I know, which makes it even a little bit more scarier. But what it does is when you ignore them, it actually is giving you peace. Listen, you can't fear nothing in this life but God. I'm not saying that being in an abusive relationship isn't a scary thing, but you gotta make your faith in God and your belief that God can deliver you greater than your fear for the abuser, okay? Please, trust me. So you have to ignore their outbursts. You have to know that any attention you're giving them is what's feeding the dirty behavior. So when they start to go off, do not engage. You can't engage with them. You can't go tit for tat, because the minute you continue to go tit for tat, guess what they're gonna do? Point fingers and be able to blame you and say you were wrong for this and you were wrong for that. Don't engage, which I guess is the same as ignoring their outbursts. Like, so you're just not going to engage with their bad behavior. breathing and slowing down. So in the moment where they are getting upset, in the beginning when him and I would argue about certain things, I'm just waiting for him to finish talking or cutting him off so that I can make my point and say what I have to say. But that makes you guilty. So you have to slow down and you have to really pay attention to who they are. Pay attention to their behaviors. Start getting to the point where you understand before they do a thing what they're going to do. Because when you get to that point with them, it changes how you react to their behavior, and it brings you the peace, and it takes away the attention from them that they're desperately seeking. And finally, I want to say no contact. And I know that that may or may not be easy depending on where you're at in this situation with the abuser. So if you're still in the house with them, no contact obviously is difficult. But when you make it out of that relationship, the best advice I can give you is to have zero contact. Now, I know that it may also be difficult when you're free from them because you guys share children, but you're gonna let the courts deal with this, because you cannot feed any attention to them. And the more you withdraw your energy from them, and especially when you have that no contact, is the better off your life will be, and the more you won't have to deal with the abuse, the drama, the triangulation, and the manipulation. I'm gonna have to do a video about no contact and how that would work with the courts, because I know that it's not as cut and dry as I'm making it seem. But those are just some of the ways that helped me to outsmart my ex when I was dealing with him, especially towards the end. But you gotta get to that place too, where you've made the decision that you no longer wanna deal with this. That's the first step to any of this outsmarting tips. So remember, God did not put you here to be abused by anybody.